Hey, this is Lee Balcom, and just very quick little message here because I keep hearing this question. I just got off the phone with somebody who basically said, I want to save my marriage, but my spouse doesn't want to at all. There's no interest. So is it a lost cause? It's something that's so important. I actually even answered it in this book, Marriage Failpoint, because what often happens is your marriage gets to the point that is so in trouble that your spouse cannot see a way forward, cannot see how you could possibly get beyond where you are right now. And if that's the case, they just are not ready to move forward. And many times people think that there's nothing they can do. So to answer the question, is there any way that you can move forward when your spouse says no? The answer is yes, there is. Now, if you're thinking in your head the same thing I've heard from person after person, it takes two to tango, let me just say, that's not wrong. It does take two to tango. So first of all, that's referencing a dance, right? But let's just use that as an analogy for a minute. It does take two people to tango. However, one person often starts the dance, right? One person often is asking the other person to start, and that's the process. Can you start the process to save your marriage? So let me be 100% transparent here. Can you save your marriage alone all the way to the end? No. Can you start the process? Yes. In fact, I've watched thousands of couples do this, or thousands of people do this in their marriage. And so I know it works. And I know that the way they do it is by, instead of continually trying to badger a spouse and kind of convince them that they need to save their marriage, they start working on the stuck points. They start reconnecting, because what's broken about most marriages? The connection. As I've talked about in other videos, the connection is what's lacking. I call it the pause button marriage. If you haven't heard me talk about that before, I did a whole video about the fact that pause buttons are the biggest reason we have problems in our relationships, because you can't pause any relationship, certainly not a marriage. So when you realize that the damage has been done, you hit the pause button, the connection then is starved, and now you're at a place where somebody says, I'm not happy, I want out, this is not going to work. What do? You start with reconnection. Not start with, hey, let's find a way to do this. Not start with, hey, how shame on you, how dare you do that, but to recognize that the disconnection, the root of that, there were two people who were disconnecting in that process, two people who were in some ways part of that pause button. One person can begin the process of unpausing that. Will the other person eventually have to come on board? Yes, just not immediately. You can do lots of work without having to do all the begging and pleading and all that other stuff to try to get the start, simply by focusing on the start, focusing on reconnecting, working on that connection. If you work on there, you have a great chance of reconnecting. Now, let me just pause and say, many people think that they want to go back to the relationship they had right before the pause button. That is not what you want. That's how you got to here. The path to here, if you link it back, was to that place you want to return to. You want to get to a different place, a better place, a place where you're committed to the connection, committed to the relationship, and building the love as you go. So, to answer the question we started with, can you save your marriage alone? No. Can you start the process alone? Yes. If you don't know how, come visit me. SaveTheMarriage.com. That's SaveTheMarriage.com. But don't fall for the marriage fail point. I'll see you next time.